All right, I believe we're live now. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. That's www.section8consulting.com. You can find our company's information in the description of this video. So for this video, I'm going to take you guys on a grand tour, those of you that are seniors, of all the different options available to you across federally funded programs that include vouchers, subsidies, low-income housing, emergency housing, and some of the many other options that could be available to you, including retirement communities and so on. So I ask that you be patient because this is going to be an intro video or introduction to this. The goal is not to get too deep in. The goal is to introduce you and then return next week at the same time. And then we're going to get much more deep into the programs to be able to answer all questions. Now, I'm going to briefly pause here and there throughout the video for those of you that are sitting in the background that want to ask questions, and then we'll do that every so often. Now, I want to make a few introductions and talk about schedule real quick before we actually get in the video, so please do bear with me. Our video schedule, for those of you that don't know, is going to be Monday. We do a short video to let you know what days and times what the subject matter will be. So you'll learn about what type of videos will be made, what time, what day, and also what time zone. So I'm in a different time zone, obviously, than many of you. So Monday's live short video for 60 seconds will be at 10 a.m. Central Standard Texas time. Tuesday, we're going to be revisiting our educational videos, which will be the emergency housing voucher. But that will be at 10 a.m. Central Standard Texas time on Tuesday. Thursday is what I call Spicy Thursday because sometimes we talk about subject matter that may require some viewer discretion or may include a profanity or two. Okay, we're really navigating away from profanity in these videos, but sometimes there are some things that will be at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it's educational. It's live video. You can chat with me. You can ask questions. That is the point of all of this: is to help those, to empower, to educate, and so on. Sunday is another educational videos and probably one of our better video days because we have a lot more time to spend and to educate. So you can expect on Sundays we'll be talking at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to discuss services that our company offers and so on, but we're going to have the primary topic. Now, I haven't decided so much about next week's schedule, but I will let you guys know as of Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we covered that part. All right, thank you everybody for joining. Today, we're going to talk about seniors and housing. And so in order to do this, I'm going to presume that most do not understand the system at all. Some of you may, but most of you may not. And so we need to discuss how it works before you can actually achieve utilizing the system and being successful. The first thing we need to understand is, HUD is the person or federal agency that receives money from Congress. It's money that HUD receives. It sends down to housing authorities in every city or county in the nation. And to date, there are 3,300 housing authorities across America, including the more contentious areas like Puerto Rico and other territories. The point of this being is a lot of your point of contact for low-income housing, affordable housing, vouchers, and emergency housing may be through a housing authority. It may be through a CES system, which is coordinated entry system, or you may be dealing directly with private landlords participating in a LITCH project. And what that is a subsidized building. So rather than a voucher, the actual unit itself is subsidized. So the first one I'm going to try to approach is one that has many names because of the misinformation across the internet, and that's going to be subsidies. So the United States government offers to allow landlords to designate or subdesignate their properties as a low income or affordable or a subsidy. So all those things all mean the same thing. Those properties typically, you have a situation where there may be a waiting list for most of them because there's not a lot of them, and then the ones that are out there are typically full. People tend to stay a longer period of time in subsidies, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's a little bit more difficult for those of you that are in a metropolitan area. So one thing I want to go ahead and establish very early in this video is some critical information. That way we can qualify or disqualify you right now. And that's going to be the 50-80 rule and the 70-30 rule. So the first is, let's look at income. 50-80 means 50%, as little as 50% and as high as 80% of the area median income. Let's say we live in a small town and everybody's income in that town is 100,000. That would be considered the area. The area median income would be 50,000. So from that, we can derive that you would be considered low income if your income does not exceed 80% of $100,000. In other words, $80,000. Now, just out of curiosity, since I track thousands of cities across America, places where you would still be considered low income, believe it or not, would be places like Los Angeles and New York, where making even 90,000 a year would be considered actually poor, at least in the federal government's eyes. In a state like mine, you'd be doing pretty damn good. And in terms of you being a senior, none of that seems to be relevant. So let's talk about from my perspective as a consultant and an expert. I can tell you the numbers when it comes down to payments, Social Security payments, Social Security disability, survivor benefits, and fixed income. Those of you that receive $0 to about 900, you're considered in the lower range and the lower consideration for properties. So that would be $400 to $900. Those that make $901 and up to $1,500 would be considered in the moderate range or medium range. And for those of you that have an income of about $1,501 to $2,500, you would be considered high range. And at 2,500 plus, you would be considered in the exceptional range. So where do you really want to be with this? So before you get upset and think, oh, well, my payment's barely 900, don't be so worried. Most properties already, that's 80% of the market. And those of you that are way over 900 into the 15s or 2,500 area, you're more the exception to the rule. It just means that you're probably going to be, they'll probably be a little bit friendlier to you. They obviously would definitely would want you in the property. So don't worry too much about personal incomes. Now, if you're below 900 and you're steering towards 700 and below, you may find that there's going to be a level of difficulty dealing with properties because of your income. Okay. The next thing we need to consider in terms of this is your 70-30 rule. And 70-30 is before you even bother to get involved in these type of programs, we need to understand essentially what your rent responsibility is and what you're actually going to benefit from this. So in terms of vouchers, low-income housing, and CES or emergency vouchers, what you're looking at is it would be 30% of your payment. So let's, as a standard, consider your Social Security check $1,000. You would owe $300. The housing authority would cover approximately $700. But what's important to understand here, there are many things that can change that. And what can change it is the composition of the household. If you've got a bunch of relatives living with you and you've got a young adult that's making a lot of money, it could disqualify you. Or it can make your rent responsibility, your 30%, much higher. So we have to consider that. You know, another thing we need to look at is positive and negative assets. This positive and negative assets means, okay, does grandma, have you been saving a lot of money? You got $100,000 tucked away in your savings account? That could be a problem, especially if it's, there are ways around that. But I'm not going to get in deeply into that. There are definitely ways around that. Our politicians make sure that the wealthy created tax laws and other ways to get out of situations like that. So can you. But those that are have property and other assets and expensive vehicles that are paid for, that could play a role in how well or bad you do with this. So negative and positive. Now, what are the negatives? Well, a lot of things are considered negative expenses, medical costs, medical bills, and so many more that I could name. But the goal here is not to go through a laundry list of negative assets, but just to know that can bring you back from the space back to our orbit when it comes to consideration of them calculating your rent. So a lot of negative assets or costs would help adjust this. The best way, in my opinion, for those that don't have the time to understand and figure these things out, try reaching out with a consultant. I mean, you can reach out to HUD, you can reach out to the housing authority if they have time. They'll speak to you or even give you a few minutes. But if you're very serious about this or you've got too much on your plate, then you might want to reach out to a company like ours where we can work with you personally and kind of work through all the fine details. Because the last thing that most people want to do is try to learn a new trade in the middle of doing this. And if any of you have experienced trying to deal with Medicare, Medicaid, you already know the nightmare of trying to figure that game out. Now take that sandwich and double it. That's what HUD is. It's 80 years of convolution and rules on top of rules. And so you can learn the hard way by investing hundreds, if not thousands of hours trying to teach yourself through a system, or you can take a much more preferred step, go ahead and get housing and do it pain free. And I'm not going to discourage you guys. There's lots of you, but look, I've had the most highly educated people contact me that are former heads of many different things and said even they struggle with it. And then I've had others that had a simplistic mind that, did well with this. So we'll see, but I'm always there, so is our company's last option, like all. All right, I'm going to jump down to comments real quick because I've already started part of this. So Trish Bryant, sharing posts, thank you. Trina Daniels, thank you for doing this. You're most welcome, Miss Daniels. JW, welcome back. Glad to see you in every one of our videos. Can always welcome you, those of you that are there. If you guys want to say hi, and I realize in these type of videos it may be a bit uncomfortable jumping out in public and typing comments and all that, but don't be shy. I'm really, really just eager to talk with you guys and to educate and empower you, obviously. And so you don't need to be shy. But if you are, keep coming back. Eventually, you'll gather that strength to start asking questions. I get it. Nobody wants to do that. Or if you're new. So, all right. So we covered now the 50-80 rule for the area median income. So how would you guys know that? Well, it's different for every city. So again, you got to do some research to kind of figure out those area median incomes. But provided in most circumstances, if you're a senior with a fixed income and you're not receiving more than $3,500 a month, then you're probably going to fit the bill. Okay, I wouldn't worry too much there. The 70-30 rule, as far as your responsibility, that can be a complex gambit. And just like when you file back in the days, with those of you that aren't retired or retired but used to work, it's as complex as filing taxes because you're looking at positive and negative assets. And for those, the housing authority isn't going to teach you every little thing you could deduct to potentially get increases in the amount you have to pay or don't pay. So that's where a consultant comes in because we know where all the best adjustments are. And so don't leave anything on the table. And it's never the housing authority's job to really overwork themselves to figure out how to get you further deductions. And so I'm trying to make it, I guess, understandable in a very simplistic way. All right. So hi, Miss Cecil or Mr. Cecil. This was right on time. My mom became homeless in California as a disabled senior. Well, there's certainly a lot can be done for that. I don't like to see anybody on the street. I think a good 30% of all of our clients are members or actual homeless people. And just because somebody's homeless doesn't mean that, we have a crazy idea of homelessness, and look, a lot of us at times have reached points where we're surfing couches, staying with family. We do it a lot when we're young, right? Then what makes it so shameless when we're older? Things happen. Societies go up and down, incomes go up and down, and situations happen, big bills, and so you end up in a situation where you no longer kind of have your own home, but you're depending on family and friends. That is a technicality to homelessness, and so it's nothing to be ashamed of. We all, as humans, hell, I've been almost bankrupt 3 times in my life, so. Look, there's nothing to be shy about. Fixed income is a tough thing to abide by. And so, all right, let's get back here and let's talk about some of the other things that are important to understand about these programs. So let's divide this cake up into 3 pieces. The first one we're going to talk about is low-income housing. Again, this is you reaching out to properties that may be Section 811, which is those of you that are 61 years old or down to 18. So 18 to 61, Section 811 properties. That is low-income properties, and that's for those with disabilities. You don't need to be disabled in order to go to a low-income property, okay? There are lots of low-income properties that almost could actually help you with that as well. Now, second to that, we have Section 202. And again, when I'm talking about all these sections, think of it in terms of tax. So we have tax law by the IRS, and they have their subsections and titles. So does HUD, and those subsections and titles are a lot like tax law. And so the subsections indicate what the federal government's willing to do, how the programs work, and what you should expect to receive. Though it can be a quite lengthy read, and some parts can reach tens of thousands of pages. So imagine my job every day. And they give all the honor and glory to people like doctors who read all day long. I don't even have a PhD, and I probably read more to get through what I do than probably a doctor does in the 9 years it takes for him to get his PhD. That's just the reality. Anytime you're going to delve into programs at the federal level, you need to be able to master the ability to read for decades. All right, I'm going to jump over to comments real quick, and we're gonna keep going. We're going to keep hashing this out. Again, it's an introductory video, so don't become impatient looking for a magic answer. Magic answers can't be delivered in a short video. Trust me, this is a complex subject matter, and we need to be able to communicate the message in a way that everybody can understand, not just the intelligent. We have people that have learning disabilities. We have other problems that may affect mental health, and so we have to be able to speak in a tone as if I was invited you in my living room. We're at the coffee table, and we're talking in generalities. Okay. Sheila Neal. Hello, everyone. I'm in need of housing in Miami, Florida. They have an open Section 8 waiting list on February 5th, 2024. Curious story about Miami, Florida. Just 2 years ago, they opened that list. And let me tell you an interesting statistic that most of you didn't realize. We think of Miami and all the glitz and glamour and the beaches and all the young people having a drink on the beach and the parties and all that. But let me tell you a much darker side to Miami. And I don't mean in terms of bad news. They open a waiting list there, and the population in that city is roughly 500,000 or less, right? And of that 500,000, 90,000 people applied for Section 8. So you know what that tells me? It tells me that nearly 1/4 of the city applied and is in poverty. The average city is averaging 2 to 3%, even in Chicago. For Miami to reach such lofty heights as to have 90,000 applicants tells me there is a very disparaging difference for that city. And for 25% of the population to apply at the local housing authority is unheard of. And so I think that outside the glitz and glamour of the beach and the clubs and all that, there's a much more serious issue in terms of people living there and seniors and affordability. And I think that those numbers indicate that. Now, again, I don't want to discourage anybody from applying in Miami or anywhere around there. I'm just suggesting that the numbers were pretty big, and only 5,000 people were chosen out of 90,000. I'd say in my career, for a small spot on this market, and looking at that was pretty stunning results and statistical data for that city. Now, there could be a lot of reasons, but we're not going to get into that either, right? All right. Low-income housing, again, you're pulling from a generated list of low-income properties that have already filed that there are a section that they were receiving people that would fit the criteria of Section 202, seniors with disability, potentially Section 811 in the code, which would require those that are 18 to 61 that have a disability, and those of you that are just simply in low income. There isn't much magic. I mean, you're going to the office, you're qualifying, you're meeting the rent requirements, and you're producing the documentation. So I think the bigger hurdle there is trying to make your case work really well and get into one of the really good properties versus going after the ones that are probably a little bit more downtrodden. Okay. So subsidies, low-income housing, affordable housing. I just revealed there's no magic there. And by the way, there's nothing that our office can do to influence the outcome of whether or not a person does well or not well at a low-income property, because so little is required to enter it. But just keep in mind that the subsidy remains with the apartment. So if they subsidize unit number 1, when you move in, you have a subsidy. When you move out the door, you begin this whole process all over again. If you move in that place and you find out the person that's living next to you is a prostitute and you want to leave, that means you got to wait, get on more lists, and do all this. To be frank with you guys, I don't really recommend subsidies in affordable housing unless you really need to, because you're taking a big gamble that if you want to move, you have to start this whole process again. Wait. And who wants to do that? I think that vouchers are a much better opportunity because it allows you to utilize that as a method to pick a place that you like and a place that you enjoy. It doesn't relegate you to low income areas where things may not be the way that you want them. And so I'm going to give a thumbs down to low income housing unless it's completely necessary. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting those of you that are considering retirement communities as being the same thing. Okay. That's much different. So let's talk about vouchers. In my opinion, and looking through Title 24, Code of Federal Regulation, there are approximately to date, as far as I can count, upwards of over 100 different types of funding and voucher types. And it depends on what you qualify for. A lot of people say, hey, Jay, can I go down to the Housing Authority and apply for Section 811? It doesn't work that way. Your answers on your application will dictate your case itself. Your explanation, who you are, what's going on, and how you put that information in that application is going to determine what they offer you. So you can influence it by having a really good case, but you cannot really direct this. So a lot of what our office does with clients is we pull your case before you go out and make a mistake. We look at what's preferences. Is the person 62 and older? Are they a veteran? Are they homeless? Are they a domestic violence victim? And there's many different things that are highly preferred that can speed up the process for you. But in terms of you being seniors, it really powers your case when you have all those different elements. It powers your case above and beyond the average person that's 61 years age and under. And so that's why it's so important. So vouchers, in my opinion, would allow you, as you age further and you got grandchildren, say in Texas, it would allow you to seamlessly move or port that voucher from one state to another. And you could probably do that stress-free inside of just anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So that means you're leaving one apartment and almost jumping into another with no risk. You do this with low-income housing, you assume nothing but risk. Okay? You literally jump into a market you don't even know, move across the country, and pray and hope the other subsidy property is going to want you, and there's not a list. You see the gamble there? So I hate to talk badly about subsidies, but that's just the reality. All right, let me hit some of these questions because you guys are pounding away at these questions here, and I said I'd be fair and reasonable and answer them. So let me get to that. All right, I'm looking at the list here. If you don't see your comment up there, it may be something to do with YouTube. I'm certainly not blocking anybody's comments, and sometimes comments show up late. I've seen comments may show on your end and may not pop up on my screen for 5 minutes. So let's make sure that we're on our best behavior in the video. All right, Good Redmond, I appreciate you doing the video. You're a hard worker, your hard work for making this content. Unfortunately, YouTube keeps buffering, which will watch replay. Well, yeah, that does happen. Sheila Neal, that is true. It is a big problem. Trina Daniel goes on to say, but that's real. How sad. E, I like that. Very simple and simplistic. The person uses E. Need to speak. My situation has changed. This is Ellen. Well, Ellen, since I only have a first name, I can't disclose whether you're a client or not. If you're not a client, I would say reach out to my office. We offer instant appointments. If you're a client, then I would have you call our office and disclose that you're a client, where we have your full name, and then we can discuss whatever you'd like to. Cecil, is the emergency voucher specific for seniors? Oh, so let's talk about emergency vouchers, right? Now, we've talked about subsidies, affordable housing, low-income housing as all being the same thing. We know what that is. And now we've talked about vouchers a little bit. And, vouchers are vouchers, and we need to qualify, and you need to have special preferences to be of higher consideration in some of the methodology that requires that. Let's look at a third tier. Let's talk about seniors in troubling situations where we're surfing couches, we're no longer going to afford to rent, and we're potentially going to be put out, evicted on the street. Maybe you're in a homeless shelter. Again, I wanted to make sure that we understand that we're not shamed by the factor of being close to homelessness and being homeless. Lots of us have reached that point where we're so close you could taste it, okay? If you're struggling with something, you have look, especially if you're over 55 and you're vulnerable and you're on a fixed income, this isn't the time to put your pride above asking for help. Okay. It can be too hot, it can be too cold, and a lot of people that are older don't understand the politics and the games of the young folks that are around them, and a lot of things can happen to you out there, but it's just unnecessary risk. So, emergency housing vouchers would allow you to be assessed under the coordinated entry system or continuum of care. That assessment, provided given the right answers and the right criteria are built into the case, would allow you to access an emergency housing voucher in anywhere from 30 to 90 days. I know the word emergency somewhat implies that it might be really quick, like same day. There's no voucher or any solution on the market that's that fast, but at least you would have an idea within 30 to 90 days you do it. And when I say 90 days, I mean LA and parts of Florida. It could be like that because CES system is largely owned by one organization through half the state, and they're difficult to deal with. All right, so emergency housing vouchers are going to require the potential for you to potentially become imminently homeless. You could already be homeless. You could be surfing couches, living in the ER room. I mean, if you don't have a lease and you don't have a mortgage to a home, and you can't afford to rent next month, then you're just as good to go to CES as anybody could be. You do not need to be a drug addict under a bridge. Okay, that's a separate look. Homelessness, in my opinion, comes in categories like hurricanes. You got category 1 through 5. Your fives are the people out there that are out there because they choose never to exit that because they don't want anybody to tell them when they can smoke crack and when they don't want to, or when they can drink or when they don't, or if they wanted to have a criminal element. And then there's those of you that have situations that are catastrophic in your life. Nobody's there to help you, and by virtue of that, you're very close to ending up on the street if you do nothing, or you don't swallow your pride. And so we try to provide an intervention. Homeless shelters are not filled with drug addicts and gang members. Those people don't even want the services of the homeless shelter. They're typically filled with people that have never really experienced homelessness and are probably too scared to go live under a bridge. And I think that's what a lot of you fail to understand. Then the goal of my company, or at least for what I do, is to prevent you from doing that. Let me make one very clear example of this. It only takes 24 hours for a cop to show up at your house, evict you, put all your shit on the sidewalk, and you're homeless. How many minutes did that take? Less than 1 hour. Do you know how long it would take for my office to work with you to drag your ass out of homelessness after you've devastated your whole life? It would be better to contact me as soon as possible before the devastation happens. So it only takes a moment to destroy everything. It could take years to come back from that, to rebuild. And so waiting to the last minute, waiting till the sheriff's knocking on your door and then calling my office is a terrible idea. We have to start making better decisions. But I think most of you are here not for that purpose. You're here because you watched the pandemic play out. Now we watched inflation. Now we're watching inflation turn into a game where everybody's trying to extort everybody for cash now. Everybody's just basically robbing everybody. Every store, everybody's got in the game of charging 4 times what it costs because that's just what we're doing these days, right? You can't even go into Walmart without being robbed. So everybody's price gouging everybody. We used to complain about some people doing it, but now it's become a methodology day-to-day life. The gas station, oh, well, you know what? Why don't we just keep raising the number and see how much these people will pay? Everybody's got in on it. This is why the country cannot seem to heal. Makes me mad, right? But it's the truth. We all know it in the back of our head. It's the truth. Everybody's trying to rob everybody. Look, I tried to call a maid the other day. This woman tried to tell me it'd be $500 to clean my house. I said, look, I don't know if you're addicted to drugs or you got other problems, honey, but there's nothing with a toilet brush you're going to do that's worth $500. And even if you were a high-end prostitute, I still would hire you. $500. Really, you lost your mind. So either you're dealing with people that have had a meltdown or they're not connected to this planet, but you sure as the hell is nothing that you could do for $500 in my house. Everybody's lost. Even the lawn man wants $95 an hour. Everybody's tricked out now. It's complete chaos. I'm sorry. I had to be real about that. Sometimes you just got to call the shots with this stuff. You can't sugarcoat it because we all know it's real. Everybody's trying to rob everybody right now. And I'm going to be so glad when we get past it. So let's get back to the vouchers and questions before I go off the deep end of this video. See, look, just to be transparent in hopes of helping others with my questions, the landlord issued an eviction for repairs. My mom is 73 and has lived there 10 years. Cecil, you need to do something fairly quick. There's a lot of remedies concerning that, including the fact that probably trying to serve an eviction on a senior like that for nefarious purposes or professional misconduct would be elder abuse in some cases. It really does depend on city and state ordinances. That place could be sued for a number of reasons. But again, we're talking in generalities because I don't really know the whole case. I don't know what evidence can be presented and so on. I would say reach out to my office because this is not really a matter we should be venting publicly in a YouTube chat. So my heart does go out to you. Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins, I'm so excited that I'm watching you live. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. Anytime you guys join, it gets me excited. It makes me think that there's a little bit of hope for you guys. And, as we expand on this video, I want to talk to you about something a little bit separate. I want to talk to you about a fourth option. For those of you that don't have a voucher, one thing you really need to consider, whether you're 18, 50, or 80, is a HUD homeownership program. I want to see you guys graduate to better things. Most of you believe with a fixed income, the end of your life is just relegated to a voucher and whatever you get and receive. Well, I tell you, actually, I enjoy telling you that the HUD homeownership program is something that we're going to be working really hard to get a lot of people into because it's underutilized. Housing authorities skate around that program a lot. It's like they don't want people to know or even complete it. You get the thing is, we want to remove the control of the housing authority. And if the U.S. government is going to subsidize 70% of your mortgage, it means that a lot of you could live in your own home. And with your own home means you could rent additional rooms, you could rent out the backyard, you could even rent out the garage. It's time to take vouchers and graduate to something a little larger. Nobody's suggesting that maybe if you're at 78 years old, that you need to purchase a $500,000 house. What I am suggesting is a small home for a small price, and you quit paying. Look, all you're doing is you're taking a voucher and you're paying the landlord's mortgage while he's out there vacationing. Why can we take that 70%? Let's pretend that 70%. Well, let's talk about $1,000. You're paying 30% rent, right? You're already doing it anyways. You're paying 30%, and then the housing authority is paying 70% of that man's mortgage. Now think about this carefully. What would be the difference that you owned a small one-bedroom home, right? Your home, your rules, your yard, right? What would be the difference of the housing authority paying 70% of your mortgage? Do you see the madness in this? Remaining and continuing to use a voucher? And let me tell you another thing. I know lots of people, including my grandfather, that made it to 96, was perfectly capable all the way to the last day. Nobody's telling you need to go out there and have a 5-acre yard that you need to take care of, but the assertion that anybody's over 70 is done and they need to be in a nursing home is absurd. He was 96 on the back of a tractor on about 30 acres. So unless you have, extreme disabilities and other things that prevent you, I don't see anything prevent. Look, you have no problem living in an apartment complex. How much work was it to get up the stairs? How much more work could it be to walk in your own home? You're already paying 30% of your lease. Why not pay 30% of your mortgage? And here's the beautiful part. You own that home, right? You own that little one-bedroom, unspectacular one-bedroom home, right? And they're paying 70% of your mortgage. That's money you can borrow against. It's your equity. You own that money once it's paid in. Now, you can't go back to the landlord and go, hey, excuse me, the housing authority has been paying in 70% per year. I would like to take a loan against that. They laugh, and then, you probably call 911 because they think you're crazy. But in the real world, if you own the home, you can borrow against that money. And even better, the more bedrooms it has, Well, you got a friend that you play Keno with or cards, move them in the other bedroom and capitalize. Think about, you want to retire? Well, have one person, a friend, rent the room, and guess what? Let them pay your mortgage. Then you go over and run down to Macy's. Guys, you've got to think more business minded. Even if you're single and widow, let's think about that carefully. You got a garage. If the house has got a garage, there's lots of apps that allow you to rent out the garage. Just make sure you rent it out to people that aren't crazy, right? So that garage is making you money. They got people that rent out their backyard and let dogs or cats roam around while they go on vacation. There's another way to make money. It didn't require you to do jack. We've got to think about the future. And if you can use your home as a catalyst to earn yourself money and have the housing authority pay 70% of your mortgage, then what the hell are we doing hanging out in some property on 3rd Street where everybody's smoking crack and drinking beer? Why even bother with that? Now, again, I don't want to make the assertion that every low income area is doing all bad, but I love good extreme examples because it makes us think, right? Look, guys, the goal here is to make smart choices, you know, not to take the least and feel grateful. It's okay to feel grateful at church, but you don't need to feel grateful right now. What you need to feel is there's more that can be done. There's a better way to do this. It's okay to be humble, but look, the system's not designed for humble people. I need you to be hungry and ready to get ready to do this. And that's just dole out whatever's given to you and then call it a day. That's life. You don't need to do that. There's more to this if you're willing to listen. Now, if I said anything that required a bunch of ridiculous rules or magic or some scammy plan or unrealistic idea and have you floating around in your head thinking you're going to get rainbows and all that, no. Everything that I just told you is perfectly logical for any ordinary person could come to a very clear consensus. What I just told you about owning a home is still a very good decision. Yes, there are going to be some setbacks. If things break, guess what? You got to pay for it. I guess you have to beat your laundry on the rocks if you don't have the money. So you better call Sally, your card partner, to move them in the other bedroom till the washer's paid for. Yeah, there are going to be setbacks, but you're already living with a voucher in a shitty complex with shitty people around you. So what would be the difference? Are you going to be any less stressed out? You've already dealt with adversity, being halfway broke anyways, living on a fixed income. How much more stressful could it be to deal with the adversity of owning a home? There's no difference. Hell, it'd be easier. And you're actually achieving something. You can be stressed and achieve nothing by owning a voucher and doing nothing with it, or you can own the voucher and be stressed out, but yet you're making equity in your property and you're learning new ways that isn't going to tax you, and you can move on with life, making more, moving on. You see, so there's 2 ways to be stressed and all that. And considering low incomes, you've already learned survival, right? So we have to think about this in a different way. The goal always here in this channel is to empower, to educate, but to reason, use logic. Setting these goals so we're able to achieve a little bit more than when you thought that was possible. To start with one direction and to prove upon that logically. There's nothing here I'm suggesting is mystifying that requires you to purchase a program and all the other nonsense you see on YouTube. You got teenagers with purple hair buy the little programs and need you to subscribe to push every button in their little channels to make them feel important. This is not about that, guys. This is about logic and reason. So the starting point for most of you is low-income housing. It's vouchers. And for those of you that have a little bit of work to do to get yourself back up again, get your spirits up, your money back up, then emergency housing. You get up to there, then you can start taking leaps and bounds. It's a hole, and we're trying to jump out of it. But what I'm telling you is even after you jump out the hole, you can actually climb the ladder. A lot of you guys are just getting out the hole and you're just standing there. You're not doing that. You're not going. You're not, oh, that's it. Life is done. I have a fixed income. There's nothing more. I'm just going to be on a voucher. And that's the end of the day. Might as well just go ahead and start building a coffin in the living room and get a bag of nails from Home Depot and just call it a day. It's all just nothing left to live. Wrong. There's still more to climb. There's still more to do. And so if I can push you or piss you off enough to make you consider that, when you lay down tonight, or maybe when you go down to Sunday church, think about that. Are you done fighting? You gonna lay down and just quit? That everything is just tough? Are you gonna start fighting? Because look, when I get angry, there's two kinds of anger that I get. There's the kind where I'm mad and I just decided that I'm probably gonna say or do some things I probably shouldn't, and then and then just give up, right? And then there's when you make me mad and then I become determined at that point. You ever been there when somebody makes you so mad that at that point it's vengeance? It's you're gonna, hell of hot water. Even if the ship goes, well, just like the Titanic, the people playing the band as the boat goes down. Who does that, right? You're gonna play the orchestra as the ship's sinking, and they not even get a paycheck. The ship's going down, but they're determined. That's what I'm not seeing out of you guys, and that's what I'm pushing you to do is consider more than the option of a voucher. Yeah, you need the voucher. You need to find a place to live. You need to make sure it's affordable. You need to make sure that you're living in a state that isn't going to inflate the rent every other day. But you need to move on. And I want to hear nothing about, oh, well, I'm 89 years old. I'm not going to get involved in no mortgage. Well, then I can understand. And also for those that it's not perfect for everybody. I mean, clearly there are people that have great physical and mental health issues, and it may not be the best decision, but there's still things we could do to vastly improve the situation. Do you think my company would have about 400 reviews, most of all are 5-star, if we were putting everybody into projects and moving everybody into the trailer park? Right? We don't even consider garbage options. I leave that for people that wander around and think they know best. If you think you know best, you can always move into that situation. My car breaks, I call a mechanic because just because I can run the library and get the master manual doesn't mean I'm going to be able to fix the car. Don't even mean I have the tools. Take a sip of coffee because I'm here preaching. I feel like I just came from church, right? All right, let's roll over these comments real quick. Trina Daniel says, thank you so much. E says, understood. Alpine says, wow, amazing home ownership information. Guys, you need to come back. Look, I'm comprising a whole program. It'll cost you $0. How many times you see these men with a nice tan and a Rolex sitting up these videos? They want to buy the little shitty program at the HUD homeownership. And these little bastards have never in their life, they don't know a single federal policy, but they're just making all kinds of YouTube videos about the HUD homeownership program. It'd be like taking advice from a rodeo clown that doubled as a prostitute on 3rd Street. Just for an easy payment of $19.99, like you're buying a salad shooter. People, YouTube's full of a lot, man. I got to tell you, it's like a mental health ward, and you sometimes get the real deal, sometimes you don't. Moving on, Alpine Gold says, wow, amazing home ownership information. Appreciate that. ESP here in Texas, C. Blatton. All right, got a native. Mr. Blatton goes on to say, I'm on the waiting list here. Excellent. I hope you're on more than one waiting list because those tend to be very long. Sometimes they're shorter in other places. You might consider portability. I've known people that worked through our company, got on a real short list, and about 4 to 6 months later, they walked away to voucher. Look, if you're hanging your hat on a single waiting list, you might be waiting a while. Dawn, good afternoon. Hi, I'm from Arizona. We love Arizona. You got to love Arizona. It's one day it's 138 degrees. The next day they've got a blizzard. Tells you about the kind of world we live in these days, right? Anything can happen. I'm so happy for all you share. Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be happy with you. You asked the PHA HUD about home buying for the last 3 years. I have a 640. Well, that is definitely part of the criteria for sure. Dawn, if you want to learn everything there is probably to know about that program, you reach out to me. You won't find somebody and get more in depth. And look, I don't need to read a manual. I can sit there and verbatim half the federal code involved, including the policies, without ever taking a breath or reading from anything. That's the difference between a rodeo clown on YouTube and a person that actually is an expert or a consultant. You'd know. Trust me. You'll never catch me with a piece of paper or teleprompter. All right, Amy Mathis. I'll reach out to you tomorrow regarding the status of my case. Well, I look forward to it, Ms. Mathis. Look forward to it. Alpine Glitch, great speech. I'm ready to climb that ladder. Hey, but look, 2024, we're handing out ladders. Might as well. Might as well. It's time to move on up. Yes, in the last video I made, I said moving up like George and Wheezy. For those of you who are old enough to understand, probably most of the people here right now know who that is. Time to move up, guys. We need to consider other things. If you haven't considered it, then I'm glad that you've now been invited to consider it, because that's we always as humans need to be working towards something. We need to stop giving up and start working towards. And if we can do it in a logical and orderly fashion, and we're willing to survive adversity and everything else that goes on in this old world, then a little bit more work, a little bit more pain isn't going to hurt you. Nobody's crying when they go to the gym when they're sore. Then don't cry when it's tough to get through this. The HUD homeownership program isn't for the faint of heart. So if you're one of these lollipops that thinks, oh well, shit, I've got a food stamp card, I've got a welfare card. Let me see if I can give me some house too. We're not doing that game. This is for real people that understand responsibility. If you're just out there to run the game, please don't bother me and my channel, and don't even bother calling my office. I don't have time for people like that. Okay, then give me. We ain't doing that. Wendy Noto, thank you for the heart. Trina Daniels, we have 4 SSI checks. How do I get in the program? Well, Trina, I'll tell you, reach out to me. I can't do another hour-long video. Everybody will leave the channel after that, but be happy to discuss it with you. HA gets so offended when the general public is informed like this. You know what, guys? If you look back at some of my old videos, let me tell you something. I've had a lot to say about housing authorities. You know that about 4 months ago, I did a speaker event for Florida, speaking to attorneys of all things. Right? It was the Legal Aid Society. You know what the first thing they told me when they hired me to do that speaker event? They said, Mr. Roulette, please don't talk shit about HUD, and please don't say anything too offensive about the housing authority. You'll discover very quickly when you look on Google, Yahoo, even YouTube, there's not a better known or more well-respected consultant in the nation. I'm willing to put my reputation on that than myself. This is not about bragging. Look around. You'll see that. And part of the reason is I don't sugarcoat things. I'm not here to entertain. I'm not here to please anybody. But what I am here to do is teach you how to make war. And sometimes when things are difficult and you got problems with housing authorities and so on and landlords, we make war. And what I mean by war is we take in a professional manner, we address that. We compel under federal law, we partner with law firms, and we get business done. Because as quick as I can be professional, I can also trade a few less than pleasant words. But that's just that old Southern upbringing, I guess. I'm working on it. I've got a swear jar. I know that. Cecil, you really are a great person for educators like this. I appreciate your passion, want to help others. Hey, look, you know what? You only live once, and when I take my last breath, I'm not going to regret the efforts and time that I've spent doing this, whether I get paid to do it or not. I'm not going to regret it. There's a lot of things I could have done. I could have gone out and find all kinds of self-serving things to do, but I chose to spend my time this way. And just in case you guys are wondering, I make pennies for these little videos with YouTube. And of the copper penny they'll give me, they'll take half of it. So trust me, I'm here because I want to be here. Not because they didn't pay me to do it. Dawn goes, will do. It's so confusing, Mom. Look, Dawn, don't be concerned about the confusion part. Everybody struggles with that. I've had people with high IQs call me and say, look, I'm about to pull my hair out. It's a lot to deal with. My job is to take something much larger and to break it down, cut all the fat away, and then leave you with something that you can understand and effectively use and achieve whatever goal it is you're trying to achieve. And that may be trying to get into housing, to try to get an expedited answer. How many times we ever read a manual and you think to yourself, as you read all the way to the end, you finally figure out what the hell they're saying. Why couldn't you just get to the point? My job is getting to the point by looking at millions of pages, policies and procedures and federal code, cutting all that fat away and describing the way to you as if I'm sitting there with you at your dinner table and we're having a conversation. That's my job, is to break it down so you don't have to spend your life sitting there clicking around the internet all day hoping the stuff you're reading is real or even make sense. Trinidad goes on, then they shouldn't have asked you. True, you prove for those judges. Thank you. Jacqueline Allen, my voucher is scheduled to end on June 30th. I wonder why. I work full time. I'd like to see if I have any options to buy. I've been researching all year. I bet you know what, Ms. Allen. I'm almost certain that you do. You should react before you get rid of that voucher. You lose it, okay? I think there's a potential for you, and also we can look at NACA options. There's lots of different options. I just need to know a lot more about you and your case in order to kind of figure out how you would fit into that. JW, do you do any BNPL or payment plans? Now, I know what that is because I am the king of buy now, pay later. I got about 42 credit cards and every BNLP you can think of. Pretty shameless, right? But I quite enjoy it. I don't have so much have that, but I do work with clients however I can if they're able to establish that they're trustworthy, okay? All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping this up a bit. Our office now offers instant appointments, okay? The only way you wouldn't get an instant appointment is if I'm on the phone, and obviously I'll call you back, you leave a message. The phone number to my office is 346-293-4183. Or you can go to www.consulting.com, press the appointment page. It'll show you the phone number right there. Now, if you call, please make sure you have your payment method there. Nobody wants to work for free. I tried to tell my lawn man I'd pray for him and that he didn't want to do the work. So we all need to be paid, okay? If you're a client, same thing. If you don't get me instantly, and look, our hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This works out better for me in my office because it allows me to go out and live life, and I can take your call whether I'm in a grocery store or whatever. However, it gets a bit complicated when you're processing payments. So that allows a lot of latitude for those that have strange schedules, those that feel they have something pressing. So 2024, we're really making some big differences in how we operate. And I'm going to have a lot more exposure with clients, taking calls as a policy these days, rather than trying to relegate people to appointment and software scheduling. We're really getting away from that. We're trying to address things as they happen so people are able to get the answers they need as quick as they can. And so, again, 346-293-2341. If you can't get me, and we'll call you back. If not, and you prefer the old school thing of scheduling an appointment, do that as well. We're happy to talk to you, and that's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Though I've been known to answer the phone at 9 o'clock at night. It just depends. It's not as hard as you guys think. When you do it this way, it keeps me away from the problem with scheduled appointments are, if I schedule appointments for 4 hours straight, it means I got to talk for 4 hours straight. When people call for instant appointments, it means it's at leisure. I don't have to sit there and talk for 5 hours straight. It's a lot less stressful for me. That's why I'm moving farther and farther away from trying to push everybody into a 4-hour period each day as consults and a wider spectrum where people can call at leisure, because that means it puts me more at leisure as well. Let me answer the last questions, and we're going to wrap up the video. Auntie April, I like that name. I'm pretty sure you've been to our channel before. I have a magnificent mind when it comes to seeing these YouTube names. Reach out to you Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it for sure, Jacqueline. So Auntie April says, received a notice stating they have reached my name on the waiting list and that I need to submit an application. How quick is the process from this point? Well, if you reach the end of the list, then that means they're going to verify your information, and likely you'll be handed a voucher probably within 30 days, excluding places like the state of California, Florida, and New York. That may take a bit longer for them, okay? Auntie April goes on to say, how long does the process take once you receive the notice that your name has been read? Okay, I think I answered that one. Annie Hamel, a member of our channel with a nice, cool gold badge. Anybody wants to join our channel, and I don't mean subscribe, I mean join, and you become a member of the channel. You pay $3, I think. Whatever money we receive for that will be in support of the cats that we have. So I do a cat rescue. Strange enough, I consult people and keep house people, but I also rescue cats. At any given time, we can have up to 30. And again, it's nobody's responsibility to pay for these cats, but if you purchase a $3 membership for our channel, you get a cool badge, and your money goes towards the care and benefit of these pets. Okay. Again, I don't need anybody to pay for my rescue cats. This is just if you enjoy the content and you want to be recognized in the channel, you want a neat badge, and you enjoy the idea of the rescue or care of any animal that's in distress, do so. If not, hey, I get it. Some people ain't got money to burn. Well, I don't want you to burn any money. All right, guys, look, it's been fun. Our next video, let's talk about that real quick. So it looks like we're on Sunday. So to Monday, we got a short video just tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. That short video is going to indicate all the videos throughout the week. I'm widely known these days every week to make videos impromptu. In other words, we're probably going to have a good live Q&A Monday, and we're rolling out many more shorts throughout the week. I'm really trying hard this year to get as much information out and help as many people as I can across this. There's no requirement ever to contact our company. There's no requirement to ever pay anybody anything. You can always call HUD. You can call 211-311, call the Housing Authority. Our company and the services we offer are at your discretion. So if you've given your very finest, you've given it the best you can, and you've not achieved the result you're looking for, or you can't handle it, then and only then would be appropriate to reach out to our office. We offer plenty of free content on YouTube that can help you in your journey. And well, guys, I look forward to seeing you all again on our next video. Thank you and goodbye.